I had to unlearn everything patriarchy teaches women on what it means to be successful, on what it means to be a leader, on what it means to have it all.
Hey, welcome back to episode 172. In this episode, we're going to have conversations around women in leadership, where we're headed with that, and do we as a collective population, men and women, actually support women growing in leadership and being better leaders? Do we? So I've invited on the perfect person to talk about this, Megan Dalla-Camina. So she's the founder and CEO of Women Rising. It's a global leadership platform growing massively and doing incredible work in this world. It's supported over 10,000 women so far and 1,300 male allies across 68 countries. She's a former high-powered executive. She's worked in IBM, GE, and PwC. She's built multiple seven-figure businesses. So she's had quite a journey. And she even told me she used to do stuff in music in the past. She's done a lot of things in her life. She's a book out as well, you guys. Women Rising, The Forces That Hold Us Back, The Tools to Help Us Rise. So this conversation's not only going to be about what her extraordinary organization is doing in the world, her personal journey, but also tangible tips that we can do to support women in leadership roles. All right, you guys, are you ready? Let's do this. Let's welcome Megan to the show. Megan, thank you so much for being here. I am really excited for our conversation that's about to come.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited as well.
Because you said earlier, what you do with the show, Hustle Rebellion, is right up your alley with what you do. And I purposely did not ask you more about that because I wanted to hit record so we can have a conversation. But we're going to talk about you and all the amazing things you're doing in this world. But first, I actually want to start with a couple tangible takeaways. Specifically with you and your business. So as you're growing your business through more challenging times, what are a few tactical things that you do to stay grounded and go away from the burnout mode?
Yeah, it's such a big question. We could literally just talk about that, I'm sure, for the whole podcast. So for me, it's really about, number one, I just want to acknowledge how hard that is to do, right? Like as business owners, I think it's not the glossy Instagram that we see of, oh, it's just so easy. It's not easy. And it's not easy to not hustle when you are driving revenue, whether you're in a leadership role or you're in your own business. So let's just be real about it. For me, some things I try to do is to stay very grounded and locked into my vision and purpose.
Yeah.
Like, why am I here? Who am I serving? What am I doing this for? Is always number one. And again, like, you can lose sight of that when you're in the 500,000 things that you're trying to do every day. So always coming back to that anchor. Do less is another one that I've always struggled with, but I'm really laser focused on. So that means for me, focusing on the things that really matter and letting go of a lot of the peripheral things that we think are going to really make a difference. But if we just did these three things, that we would, really make such an impact for the people that we're here to serve. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing really practically for me, again, is like my well-being, my spiritual practice, my mental well-being. And that is absolutely non-negotiable to have my daily practices and things that I do to be very anchored and grounded in those. Yeah.
That's a common theme that is coming up more and more from people is this, I don't really want to say self-care, but it is, right? It's how do you ground yourself? Whether I'm hearing time and time again, it's literally going out in nature or breathing or meditation, or everyone does it a little bit differently, but it's interesting that it's more discussed. So I want to ask you, if you're okay to share, what do you do? What do you do for yourself?
Yes. So I do a few things. I like to walk in nature.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. So for me, that's typically a early morning walk on the beach. Like I'm very lucky to live near the beach. So early morning, preferably just before sunrise, because I love to see the sun come up. So that's a great anchoring practice for me. Very big on meditation, and had long time, decades long meditator. So, that practice for me. And I do a lot of other combined spiritual practices, all part of Himalayan yogic tradition. So, yoga asana, but Kriya yoga, breath work, pranayama, japa, mantra. So a whole group of practices that I do on a daily basis. Again, non-negotiable, has to happen, part of what I do for myself.
Do you need to schedule that in, or is it's just a given, when to do it?
It needs to be scheduled in, because otherwise, where does the day? I like to try and bookend the days. So I will, unless I have an early morning call, which is rare, but occasionally I will have a morning call. I will do my walk and meditation and everything at the beach in the morning, and then I will do my deeper practice in the evening, usually at 8:30 p.m. and I will sit down, often with my teacher and a small group that I work with, and we will do our sadhana practice together, or I'll do it on my own if we're not in session.
I love that this is non-negotiable. Yeah, it's so good. Now I want to talk about what you're up to, because you're up to a lot of really amazing things. You've different businesses, book, everything. So before we get to what you're doing now, what do you used to do? What's your journey been like?
So I had an 18-year corporate career. I've been in my own business for just coming up on 13 years. It'll be 13 years this August. Okay. Which feels like a lifetime. It feels like there was nothing before that. I'm sure many people can relate to that. But I had, 18-year corporate career. So I worked for companies like IBM, GE in the electronic commerce business, PwC in their consulting business, here in Australia, in Asia, and in the US. Okay. That was a very big part of my journey. Before that, I worked in small business, medium business, the music industry. I was a music producer and engineer. Before that, I was an actress. My whole life, the whole first third of my life coming through, I was in the performing arts. So a very mixed bag, but that 18 years in corporate really shaped so much of who I was, and so much of what I had to unlearn to do the work that I'm now currently doing.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So now there's two things I want to go here. But first of all, let's talk about what you're doing now. So you are CEO of Women Rising, and what drew you to create that?
So now, just so we're all on the same page. So I'm the founder and CEO of Women Rising. We're 6 years old. So we're a education and empowerment company, essentially, primarily focused on women, but we also do a lot of work with male allies. So, the whole mission of our company is to help women rise and to look at all of the avenues in which we can do that. And our audience is professional women. So those women who are working for other people, who are in corporates, in government, not-for-profit, small and medium-sized business. And the signature thing that we do is our Women Rising program, 4-month, fully virtual program that's in 65 countries. So that's, what we're really focusing on there. I'm also an author and, writer and, everything that comes along with that. But I started my business nearly 13 years ago, as I said. When I was looking around corporate, I never wanted to start a business. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I thought I would be a corporate person for my entire career. I loved it until I didn't love it. And, I had a major burnout 7 years before I left my corporate career, which was really that, many of us have that sort of moment where we look around and go, is this it? Is this all there is Because if this is all there is, then I have to do it a different way because this isn't working for me. I was a single mother. I was trying to do my first master's degree because I never finished my undergrad and thought like I needed that piece of paper. And literally worked myself into illness. And I was director of marketing at that stage, gave up my director of marketing job. And literally walked into my CEO's office one day and said, I'm done. Like, I can't do this for one more second. And after I'd recovered from that burnout, I became a 4-day-a-week executive for 7 years as head of strategy. I was doing a lot of work around women, gender diversity, women's leadership. And that's when I started to look around and just look for what is my next role. This is about 5 years before I left. And there was no next job. And it was the first time in my career I really had that, oh, well, if there's no next job, what am I going to do? And that's when I started to sort of think about, well, if I could do anything, what would I do? Well, I'd go and work with women and support women and try and crack this code around women's leadership. So that's what led me down the path, scary path of starting my own company.
Very brave. And you said something earlier in passing. You said I had to also unlearn a lot of things. What did you mean by that comment?
Oh, yeah, another big one, right? So, and again, didn't really realize this until quite far into my entrepreneurial journey. I had to unlearn everything patriarchy teaches women on what it means to be successful, on what it means to be a leader, on what it means to have it all, have the career, have the child, be able to, manage both sides of that equation. And I had to unlearn everything society teaches women about gender norms.
Yes.
And that there is another way of being in the world. There's another way of being in leadership, in business, in your life, in your body, other than what patriarchy has taught us as women. And that's why I wrote the Women Rising book, because I was really still grappling with, even though I've been teaching this work for, a decade and a half more, there was still something I couldn't quite put my finger on. And that turned into the paradoxes of power that I write about, around how we unhook from these paradoxes, like the leadership paradox. We want you to lead, but don't lead like that. Lead like this, like it's always been done. And the confidence paradox, be confident, but don't be too confident because we're going to cut you down. And there's others. So yeah, there's a lot of unlearning. I feel like we all need to do, all genders, but particularly for us as women.
And once we start to unlearn, what's possible? What is leadership, good leadership look like in your definition?
I think good leadership is human leadership. And certainly when I was coming through my career, my corporate career, that wasn't it. Leadership was very masculine, irrespective of the gender of the leader. It was obviously very male, which we still see today in terms of the data around leadership, and very much what the research calls masculine traits, dominant, aggressive, authoritative, short-term planning over long-term vision. And these more feminine traits, which exist in all of us, vulnerability, empathy, intuition, creativity, collaboration, had no place in leadership. And so for me, when I teach and talk and write and think about leadership now, it is this human model of leadership where we have this beautiful integration of all of these traits, of course, right? Like it sounds so obvious, but we are collectively seeing this new path being crafted of what that actually looks like in practice, rather than just what we talk about and see in the research.
You mentioned as well that you have like a male allies initiative that you work on, and I'm curious to know more about that. How does that side of your business work?
Yeah, look, for so long, anything to do with women and gender diversity, equality, women's leadership was women talking to women about women.
Yeah, very true.
Right. And
Yeah.
I saw that all through my corporate career until in Australia, this initiative called the Male Champions of Change started in 2010 with the then Human Rights Commissioner, which I was involved in when I was at IBM, right at the outset. It's now called the Change Champions Coalition. They've taken male out of it to be more inclusive. But that was the first time that we really started to look at where are the men in this conversation? And it was very much the CEO. The work that we're doing at Women Rising is through our Male Allies program, which is we want to get down through the organizations to the leaders, to the middle managers, and to every man that we can get to teach them and coach them and support them on how to go from being a good guy, someone with good intentions, to being a true active male ally and advocate, someone who understands what allyship is, who knows their role, and who is active in supporting, sponsoring, advocating for women in the workplace and also in their personal life. And, you know, we get asked and told by so many men, and it comes through really clearly in the data, that a lot of men, 78% of men say, I want to be part of the solution.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I'm scared of doing the wrong thing. I don't want to get cancelled. You know, I don't want to get in trouble. Like, show me and help me to know how to step forward into this role. So that's the work that we're doing alongside the work that we're doing with women.
Beautiful. So for our male listeners, what could they do? So if you could offer them a couple of starting points to help, what could they do?
So the first thing is to realize what allyship actually is, because for the thousands of men that we've had do this work with us, 90% of them come in thinking that they're allies. And what they realize after doing the first session, the first lesson, and the first coaching call that we all do together with their peer group is, oh, I'm a good guy. Like, I want to do the right thing. I want to help women. I want to, be a leader.
Yeah.
But I'm either on the sidelines, I'm really apathetic about it when I thought I was in it, and I don't have the tools. Like, I don't actually know what my role is in this. So that's the first step, is to really take a very close look at how you are advocating for women. When you're in a meeting and a woman gets interrupted, do you call it out? When a woman gets talked over, do you say, Mary wasn't finished, I'd like to hear what she said? When a woman's idea gets attributed to a man, which happens all of the time, are you the man in the room that says, thanks for raising that, John? That initiated from Sue. Sue, what else would you like to say about that? Like, there's very small but active roles that men can play. You know, whose name are you raising when she's not in the room for that project or that promotion or that pay rise? These are all acts of advocacy. And something that also comes up with men is in their personal life, who are you being as a male ally? You know, if you're out walking and it's just gotten dark and there's a woman walking in front of you, do you cross the road so that she knows that she's not being threatened because there's a man walking behind her and it's dark on the street?
Yes.
It's all of these things that for so many men, for so many women as well, by the way, are unnamed and unrecognized. So part of our work is to name them, to recognize them, and then to, in a very inclusive way and supportive way, be on that journey with men, versus men thinking that women think that they're the problem and that we're against each other in this, when really we just want to walk together, because it creates a better place and a better world and a better world of work for everybody.
Some really great actual strategies that people can do. And I want to flip it now for women. So a lot of our listeners are women. And what can we do to help each other?
Just generally?
I would say in leadership and becoming better business owners in the world, because there's two camps that I see. This is what I see, at least.
Yeah.
There's the women that are out there empowering other women and genuinely mean it and are working towards making that happen. And then there's the women that say it, but don't do it. So what are some actual things that you see are needed for women to help other women in the world?
Yeah, just another small question. I love that. So like this gets right to the core of patriarchy, right? This gets right to the core of this wound that so many of us carry as women, where there's only place for one that we've been taught.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, so
there's
true.
one seat. There's one seat at the table. There's one business that can be in an industry. And if there's another woman doing it, guess what? You're out.
So true.
And this is how we have been raised. This is what we have been taught. So the first thing for us as women is to start dismantling that narrative, because it's not true. And to really heal that wound, that patriarchal wound that we have, because the patriarchy is external to us, but it's also internal to us. We internalize all of those messages and that narrative, and it becomes our inner critic voice. And our inner critic voice is what, is that wound that makes us say or look like I'm helping you, but really I'm over here saying X, Y, and Z about you.
Yes, that.
Right? Or I'm undermining you, or I'm following you on social media, but I'll never like one of your posts. I'm just going to lurk in the background.
Oh,
all of these things that happen, particularly for business owners, right? Like we see this all the time. And then, your words end up on their website, but in a different way. Like this is all the wound. This is all the feminine wound.
Yes.
So that's the healing, because we can talk about all the things on the surface. And we can, women empowering women and women supporting women and all of this, until we do our own work, which then ripples out into the collective work. We're never going to get past that. And we're just going to be having surface level conversations that, women supporting women, hashtag. Yeah?
It's so true.
It doesn't get us anywhere, because we're just feeding that place inside of us that is deeply wounded.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a small answer. It's not a flippant, we just need to do more of this. There are those things. Share, recognize, comment, be visible. If you like someone's work, say that you like someone's work. Don't be the lurker in the background. There's all of those things that we can do. But we really need to look at ourselves.
Yep.
And we need to look at our shadow and say, I just saw that, Barbara's doing that, and I felt like this real sense of envy. Let me go and do my work. Yep. And let me go and look at what is that I need to work on, rather than just, doing whatever we might do to hide from that deeper work. That's how we'll get there.
Those are actually really two great points. Be visible. I like that you're saying that, speak out and compliment, and rather than lurk. It's huge. And also work on yourself. I mean, I actually feel like, yes, it sounds huge, but it's actually simpler than, like, the way you've described it is a simple first step. So I appreciate that. Yeah. Megan, it's interesting having this conversation. I haven't thought about this memory in a while, but my old business had a business partner who was male, and I call it naivety or wishful thinking or whatever. I never thought, I'm not treated differently. Andrew and I are treated the same. Absolutely. Until our business started to grow. And then whenever we got, requests to be on a podcast or speaking engagement, they always went to him. And little did they know, I was the one that built the company and brought in all the business. So that was the first wake-up call for me. I was like, okay, number one, I saw it. I started to see the difference. And then number two, as I grew to be more successful, I felt the toxicity from other women. which I found difficult, jealousy and weird things. So having this conversation with you has been, it's quite a, it's a good memory of what happens, I think, when you are rising up as a leader.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also for us, like it's consciousness, right? So it's also for us recognizing there really is space for everybody. Like there really is. And if we have that abundance mindset, and that what is for us won't pass us by, and that there's room for you and me and everybody else, then that also is a much nicer energy and a much more generous energy to sit in than, well, she's doing it, so I can't do it. There's space for her, so there's not space for me. And that energetic work that we get to do as well.
Yes. So changing gears a little bit, think about yourself from a year ago. Would there be something that you would tell yourself, that's going to happen in the future? Hey, Megan, don't do this. Don't do this over the next year.
A year ago. I probably would have said what I say to myself most years is don't take on too much. Like don't take on too much. And don't hustle. Like don't hustle. And particularly in this last year, I had so much, I launched a new book, started my PhD, scaling our company, like just, family things going on that have required a lot of my love and attention first before everything else. And it's not necessarily that I wouldn't have done those things, because they had to happen in the time that they happened.
Yeah.
But I certainly could have taken away other things, like where we started this conversation. There certainly would have been peripheral things that I would have said, stop. And we've just gone through that exercise in my business right now. I had nearly 4 weeks in Europe, came back. I was on a very deep pilgrimage over there and came back, and you just see things so differently. And I just went, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. And my team are like, who are you? And I was just like, I want simplicity. We're still scaling, but I want less of the things that really don't matter that much, and more focus on the things that really mean everything. So that's an ongoing journey for us and for me personally.
How did you know what those things were? The things you said no to when you got back from being overseas?
Yeah, such a great question. I intuitively knew. I do a lot of work and research around feminine wisdom and how as women we really tap into and lock into that. And they were things that on paper made complete sense. And from a business, if you were sitting down with I used to be a business strategist, they would say, yes, you absolutely need to do this. And for revenue and showing up the business and all of the things that we talk about, they were the right thing. But okay. I knew as soon as I knew before I went, but I wasn't ready to declare. And as soon as I came back and looked at my calendar for the next 6 months and really gave myself permission to feel into my body, how do I feel looking at the workload that's required to do these things? I just instantly knew, no. Then the next step is, do I have the courage to back that intuition?
Yeah.
And that's a process, and that's what I did. So a massive thing came off the table, and a whole lot of small things came off as well, to create space for what I know is the next evolution of my work.
Did the intuition in you conflict with the strategist in you?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. As it often does, right?
Yeah.
Like we get these messages, we get these nudges from our feminine wisdom, from our intuition that want to lead us in the path that we are ultimately meant to go. And yet the strategist or the revenue, the CFO in us, no, you have to do this because then this and this and this. And I feel like, particularly for business owners, that's where we get into the hustle. That's where we don't trust ourselves, and where we make ungrounded decisions that will ultimately lead us into a place of striving and driving and burnout. Because our intuition we know we have to learn to trust and then to act on that guidance that we get given.
To act is the key. I love that you said that. So one last question before we start to wrap up, and that is, what does the future of women in business and leadership look like to you?
It looks to me like more and more women awakening to the power that is inside of them. And that to me is the rising. Like, it starts, we've been trying to fix the system for decades and decades and decades and decades. And the reason I'm so focused on helping women rise and doing the inner work and the self-leadership is because that's what unlocks the key to the external power.
Yeah.
That's what unlocks it.
Yeah.
And so, like, the leadership that I teach isn't external leadership, it's self-leadership. And, you know, all of this work around feminine wisdom and knowing your truth and trusting your truth and acting on your truth, that to me, whether you're in your own business, whether you're a leader in somebody else's business, that's what's going to help us all rise up and really dismantle the patriarchal structures that don't serve anybody.
So good. So how do people get involved with all the different facets of what you do? Where do they go? How, who are they? Tell me more.
So I would start at megandallacamina.com. That's really my home base. I'm at Megan Dalla-Camina on all social media. And for that more leadership side, womenrisingco.com is for everything to do with women's leadership, male allyship, Women Rising book. And they're the places I hang out. I would love to connect with people.
You guys need to connect, all right? So obviously in the show notes, all the links to all the places, please go check her out. And as we wrap up, is there one last thought or word of wisdom that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I would just say, and we've talked about it, do your inner work to really get to understand your truth. What is true for you in this season of your life and your career and your leadership and your business that you are currently in? What is true for you? And the more we can listen to that and ground into that and trust that and act on that, that's where the magic happens.
Perfect way to end. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.